In any case, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I never thought I'd live to see this day, but we are. I brought with me a little recording that was, we have to start with this one, if it still works. This little baby was 6 weeks and 5 days old from conception when we made this recording. I'll turn it off now if I can.
8 weeks and 5 days prior to this.
Okay, good. Okay. Let me jump over a lot of past history because our time is obviously limited. Let me start with the partial birth abortion bill. That's only a few years ago now, but it was an absolute landmark. Until that time, we sort of worked around the edges of this issue. And then this came. We passed it. It was vetoed. 5 years later, we passed it. It was vetoed again. 5 years later, we passed it, and it was signed. Now, during those 10 years, which in a way were almost beneficial to us, public approval of our issue went from 45 to 55% of the people in this country. So the argument over partial birth proved to be immensely fruitful to us, and basically what it did was dispel once and for all the media's image of us as only allowing abortion until 3 months. After that decade, everyone knew that abortion was legal until birth. And when they found this out, they changed their mind. So we've had that bill now for several years. Now what? Well, the next step, it would seem, would be to capitalize on what everyone now knows, and that is that there is a heartbeat. There's something almost magical about the heartbeat. Is there life? Well, if there's a heart beating, there's a life, of course. And when does the heart begin to beat? Well, only when you were about 3 weeks old. But it was too little to hear then. When do we hear it? Well, about 2 months along at least. And you know, 3/4 of all abortions occur after that. That's interesting. So, what of this heartbeat thing? Janet came to me and to others not too long ago when she came back to the state of Ohio and said, where is their weak point? And we agreed without a question that it was heartbeat. In the average person's mind, if there's a heartbeat, there is life. And it's just that simple. And it's just that uncontrovertible. So, the question then is, should we protect life from the heartbeat? That's interesting. That idea actually only floated here a few years ago. So, all right, let's do it. Who will do it? Well, why not Ohio? And Ohio took it on. Now, we know that when you pass this bill, and you will, right? We have a pro-life governor who is waiting to sign it. And we have a pro-abortion attorney general who is waiting to enforce it.
You mean pro-life? Pro-life. Mike DeWine's pro-life. You said pro-abortion.
Oh, not pro-abortion. No. Mike DeWine is one of the strongest pro-lifers here. Yes. So it's passed, and it goes to the federal district court, which, as it should do, will strike it down. It will be appealed to the appellate court, which, as it should do, will confirm that it's been struck down. And then it will be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so that's where we're looking right now. Right now, there are 4 pro-abortion Supreme Court justices. There are 4 pro-life Supreme Court justices. And then there's Anthony Kennedy. I've gotten to know him, and I think his story is something we must all know about and pray about. Tony Kennedy was on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's California, and that's the one right under the Supreme Court. There was a vacancy on the Supreme Court. Robert Bork was nominated for that vacancy. He'd have been a superb justice. Amen. However, after a lengthy time, he was voted down. The next nominee was a gentleman by the name of Ginsburg. And lo and behold, it was discovered that he had smoked pot. And he withdrew. So then there was to be a third nominee for this position. And out of the blue, Anthony Kennedy was nominated. And everyone said, "Who's he?" Well, he's on the Ninth Circuit. Yeah, but who is he? I knew. We had investigated Bob Bork and had gone through every one of his decisions. He had a 100% pro-life record. But he had never directly confronted the abortion issue. And so let's find out where he is. John Noonan was one of our strongest pro-life voices in earlier years. Wrote a wonderful book, was nominated and approved for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. He sat next to Kennedy. I called John. John, tell me about Tony Kennedy. What do you know about him? Well, give me a couple of days, Jack, and I'll be back. He came back and he said, he's 100%, Jack. Back him. And so, to the White House, what happens? Since I had put his name in effect, well, I couldn't do it, but I had talked to and was privy to the highest levels of the White House in those years. They came back to the White House people, had come to me, and I had said, this is a good guy.